Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leha, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.
We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today I got a great guest, entrepreneur from Laredo, who was also part of the bond committee, Mr. Adrian Zapata. How are you today, sir? You doing good?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. You know, you do good work in the community, and you have a great podcast that definitely gets the education out there for the people who need it, and we all need it. So that's why we subscribe to your podcast, and we like you on Facebook, and we watch your videos.
Thank you so much. And this podcast just started out just kind of informing the lesser informed about issues that were around town, issues that affect everybody, some issues that were never out in the as per se. And we've touched base, and we're going on our 900th episode now. But we're moving forward. So it's been a while. It's been a good couple of years doing this. It's fun. In other words, you meet great people, and you have the ability to network with good individuals.
There you go. And we're all trying to get Laredo, make Laredo better, right? That's what we're all trying to do. That's what we're all trying to do.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. And there's a lot of pieces that haven't been told, that haven't been reached out, and people are not understanding on the bond and the procedures of the bond and how it happened. And you were part of the bond committee, correct?
Yeah, I was there was 28 members of the community that were selected to be by the council, that they got to, each council person got to select a few people, and 28 total of us. And then we were able to divide into 4 subcommittees that had 7 people on each one of those subcommittees there. So yeah, I was part of that.
Absolutely. How long did it take?
I was part of the enhancements committee subcommittee specifically. Yeah.
And what explain a little bit on what was the actual process? What did they come out and they say? What happened? How did they come out with this?
Yeah, we knew that the bond, I believe that in government they had spoken about the bond needing to go out for bond for a while in 2024, and then I want to say September, early September, they started getting everything going there, and they started selecting the bond committee, and we had our first meeting. I want to say it was around the early October. Early October, we had our first meeting, and then we got into our subcommittees also in October there, and it moved really fast. It moved a little faster than I think that a lot of us really wanted to. We understand though, the city needs. There's a lot of needs in the city, and I think we all know that there's a lot of needs everywhere there. But it moved fast. It started in October, and they were trying to get us focused to be able to get something on the ballot for a May election, and I think that's going to be coming up here. And it moved fast.
Absolutely. A lot of people didn't know. A lot of people don't know that this is an election. They already think that it's something that's already set. So people do not understand that an election is next week, is early voting, and the election day is May 3rd. So they haven't been properly educated on the election status. But there's a lot of questions. How did they come up with these numbers? How did they come up with these projects or these ideas? What occurred? You were there to explain.
Yeah, so we had some presentations done from overall it was explained to us that there's a lot of needs out there for the city, and you can go into public works, into enhancements, which would include like rec centers and quality of life projects. Then you could go look at things like public safety, health, and we know there was a lot of stuff out there. So the big number when we started, the big number was going to be about $800 million in bonding that was first put on the table. Uh, and then when we broke into our subgroups, each subgroup had a specific number of a budget. I think ours was about 100 and the enhancements about 175 million or something like that. And and then we were asked to rank projects that were already given to us from the city, from city staff on the ranking of that. Now, there's some projects out there that are worthy cause, but in my opinion, and just based off of other cities and the way bonds are done, you put these subcommittees together to create a think tank, right? And to really
Yeah,
okay, what do we need? What are the feasibilities studies that are done for each of these projects? Um, what really do we need to happen and have in Laredo in order for us to ask the public to put this on their back, right? For especially when we're going to go and ask the public to pay extra taxes. Um, I don't like taxes in general. I don't like paying, for things, and so it's a big deal when I have to pay more. And if I'm gonna have to pay more, we want to make sure that things are studied properly and done properly, and there's some feasibility studies done that way. And then so, the projects that were presented to us, not all of them had solid feasibility studies done to them. I'm not exactly sure how the projects came about, but they were given to us and they just kind of said, let's check mark this and let's see what you ranking them at. Now, my specific subcommittee, we said, hey, you know what? There's a big need right there for a lot of things in Laredo. But the number one need right now, we think, is water. Is water.
absolutely.
Water is the number one need, and we felt that if this was going to go out for public vote, that the people of Laredo, we all know, need water and want water, and we felt that the public would be positively uh, charged to want to vote for water infrastructure, water development. So our subcommittee early on and in the process here, we made a motion. It was made by one of our subcommittee members, Justin Heather. He made a motion that let's divert our money for the subcommittee enhancements committee, and let's divert that money to water enhancements, and let's call on the other committees and challenge the other committees to do the same thing. I seconded the motion, and the motion ended up passing there that day. Um, and that was very early on. It's funny because I was looking at the videos online we're on, and that video is not available on online. But so we did make that motion, and
That
that
doesn't surprise me.
so that was on record, and we have the minutes on that one, and so we did make that motion, and then later it was told to us a few days later that that's not it was not in our purview there of the subcommittee to be able to do that because um, the water was going to be addressed through um, a different funding mechanism. I believe it was going to be enterprise funds that the city had already marked out there. Well, we thought, okay, well, we still want to make this motion, and we still want this motion on the table because we feel that, hey, enterprise funds are great, but let's do a favor to all of us, and if we could be the city that not only hit just the band-aid needs of water, but if we could be the leaders in funding water, and getting new water sources or water or fixing the water issues that we have, then that's
Mhm.
something the public is going to rally behind, and that's something that
Absolutely.
we're really going to want. And it was told that that was not something that we could do. And we had some back and forth chatter on that, and we still believe that that's something that yes, we could do. We ran that through an attorney of ours. I was on the subcommittee, and it was something that we could do, just didn't happen.
Do you think this was more like we have all these people in the committee, but we're still going to do our own thing? Do you think that's what was going on?
I think that there was I think that the entire city staff and also our subcommittee realized and understood that there's a lot of needs out there. And I think that when the overall scope of the needs were presented, enhancements, which was the committee that we were in, they wanted to address a few things that they had on my in mind in particular. So I think that that's why they wanted to roll with that, and that's okay. They wanted to roll that way, and they presented that stuff to us. But again, we go back to saying, hey, what we think the voters would want and what we think that the voters would rally behind would be water. And that's why we think that we wanted to divert water, our money to water infrastructure and challenge the other committees to do the same thing as well.
Here's a question that kind of popped up right now. Do you think this bonds are more of needs or more of wants by department?
So let's go by proposition, right? Proposition B is, the health department is an older health department, and we understand that our city public health, we're high in diabetes, and you know this because your father was a physician. Diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, that's high up there for Laredo. And we know that
Yeah.
this causes this puts a strain on our public health system. So we know that that's needed. Um, so I think that public health is there's a need there. Now, you can get into the line items of what is needed particularly, but we think the overall health is needed. Let's say you're looking at C, infrastructure. We know that we drive these roads. We know that there's need for infrastructure. We know that there's need for repair on roads. If you go look at the San Antonio bond right now, the San Antonio bond is very specific. It'll say, from this part of Broadway to this part of Broadway, we're going to be doing XYZ, and it's going to cost this much. So we don't have those specific numbers and those specific streets for C. So yes, we need it, but how do we know where the money's going to go if if it's not very specific yet? I think that we need it though. We need it, right? But we need to be
We I
specific.
would think it's in Laredo since I grew up, and I'm sorry for interjecting,
Yeah.
but that right there, there's no specifics. It puts question into mind: is the money going to be well spent, or is it going to be misappropriated or misspent? Or guess what? This contractor that we got now has a change order, and instead of it being 5 million, now it's going to be 30 million, and we already signed the contract. That kind of stuff that is what people are afraid of. That's happening, and that's happened before in the past. And then I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a lack of distrust towards the city government of Laredo, and by many people, and by not placing those specific items and saying this is for this, like you said, Broadway West from 1,001 to 2,000, it's going to be fixed. It's going to cost us this much. I think that's what we need to see. It has to be better planned, better managed.
Yeah.
Nobody's against it as per se. It's against the bad ill and faith that this administration, I would say, in the past 8 years, has caused to the citizens here in Laredo, and it's. I don't know how they're going to get it back.
Yeah, and I think that our city engineer, Mr. Chavez, is very capable of making sure that these are properly allotted, right? Monies. But I think that in order for us to have a slam dunk and make sure that the public is behind everything, it'd be nice to have specifics on which was going to be done. So, not saying that administration is going to mismanage it, but to make sure that the public, we want the public trust. We want to make sure that the public fully understands what's happening,
Absolutely.
especially when they're voting on increasing their taxes. So that's that. And then D, we need more. D is to renovate the what was the old Hamilton Hotel, which is now a senior living facility. That's that's needed, right? But when you break it down, I believe we broke it down to there's $10 million. There's a hundred and something odd units. It comes out to about 60,000 per unit. Now I know we're not in renovating, and the money's not specifically to renovate each unit per se, but that's kind of what the numbers come down to there. And you know, we know that it's needed, but let's get into more specifics of what we can do. Because hey, if we could have grabbed stuff from, and I'll get to Prop A in a minute, and if we can grab stuff from Prop A and help out our senior facilities and our seniors a little bit more by providing them some more money, I think that our community would have been behind that. Now, going to Prop A, man, we need a lot of stuff, and we respect and we really like our law enforcement and our and our fire, but we when we have consistent uh quality of life questions come up in Laredo ranked bottom of the list on boring cities and this and that. We think could $150 million go to something else that would be, very worthwhile to bring quality of life to the city. Is there any way to slice that down from 150 million to, 50 million or even, less than that? Can we add on other places to be able to fully equip and get our police the space that they need? Do we really need a full-on training center and a full-on brand new headquarters? I would rather put that money into quality of life projects that's going to attract and keep our top citizens here in Laredo. I think that would have been the wise way to spend that money.
I'm with you, and I'm not nothing against police and nothing against the firefighters, because when there's first responding issue, they're there. They're 100% there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, on the training grounds, they also said that there was also training grounds way back when I moved back here, was about 2000. They were building a training center that's down Mines Road. That now it's the fire training center. Well, at first it was the law enforcement fire. That's what we're going to be building. So I was always under the impression that what they were building over there in that training center was also for law enforcement. Now the firemen say, no, it's only for us. But in at those talks back then, it was for both. And I think if I'm wrong, somebody can tell me and correct me and show me where it was at. But I believe that's what it was then. So we have a place, and it's big enough that they can be in two different areas. They can build the training center in somewhere else, and they don't even have to see the firemen, whatever they have. If they have that type of rivalry. Now, they've also talked about we need a new headquarters, but yet they're spending approximately 30,000 per month, more or less, as it's been told to me by various people, towards the airport, since they created that police headquarters on the base, or the old base of Laredo. Correct. Now we're paying ourselves for that, because then they say no, it's FDHC, la da da, it's the airport, blah blah blah. There's so many stories coming here, but they say we don't have air conditioning. It's a lot cheaper to fix air conditioning, and we can get brand new air conditions everywhere else and remodel and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we have to look at all that stuff right now. Laredo, not only Laredo, across the United States, we're in a very hard situation economically. A lot of people have lost their jobs to the previous administration of what they've done. and you're suffering. So there's a lot of places that are they're suffering. There's a lot of people that are suffering. Somebody told me yesterday that Laredo's a number one in foreclosures.
Oh well, no.
I was like, I didn't know that, so I'm gonna research that to see if that's true because they mentioned that. Now you're gonna raise taxes. Somebody said it's only a hamburger a month. Wait a minute, I'd rather eat that hamburger with my son or with my daughter than you understand what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of issues there, and I'm not saying I hate Laredo because I'm from Laredo, I love Laredo, but all this stuff it's already been paid for, and it was mismanaged by previous administration, and now we're in this dilemma, and nobody's against that. It's I think the city right now has to bring back the trust of the citizens that they lost. There's some people that are going to vote for yes, and granted that's their own prerogative. But I saw everything that was going on. I went to one of the meetings, and it was kind of like an imposing thing. So if you get people that go in there and you see 15 policemen looking down at you, and you have another 20 firemen looking down you, and you have everybody looking down you, and everybody, as soon as you sit down, everybody's above you, just looking down. And you're like, no, that's not the way you treat people. That imposing, that threats. I think that's what people here in Laredo need
Yeah.
to understand. We have to stop that.
And I want to go back to your point about the training facility, right? Right now the police, from what I understand, are doing some training at Laredo College. And I think that's a great facility for them to keep on doing that at. I think that by them doing training and continuing to work with Laredo College, it enhances the college. It gives the college it brings the Laredo College up to a higher level of prestige, and it gives the college more opportunities for going out for grants and for going out for different types of funding. I wish what we could do there is enhance that relationship a little bit more. Instead of putting so much money into a training facility, we invest into our educational system there, and our partnership with Laredo College there to be able to continue working that, and that will save the taxpayers some money on that, and we can go out for federal funding on some of that stuff.
I'm in full agreement with you. And I used to teach. I was an agent instructor for many years at the college, and I used to have a full load for several years. And what I taught was Savant, and I used to teach it right in the same gym where the police was. They would just pull down a curtain, and they had their classes right next door. In fact, some of their instructors used to come over and take classes with me to go teach them how to do certain things, and that's fine. But I think we need that police academy to be in an academic sense. Now,
Yeah.
when they're saying a training center, what do they want? Do they want a shooting range, which they already have? Law enforcement has a shooting range. Do they want specific drills? Do they want to bring in some type of simulator? Do they want to take what type of training, like martial arts training for self-defense? They need it. Have you seen some of the videos of how they handle certain things here in Laredo? They need to learn. I
Yeah.
mean, that's my business, and I've taught many police agencies, except the ones here in Laredo. Outside Laredo, I've taught in other states and other countries. That's what I've done for many years. And I was also an executive protection specialist for many years, and I taught that in many other countries. So when they talk about self defense and learning how to fight, they need it. I'm in agreement. They all need it, and we all need it, and we have to enhance that. But when they say we're here to protect you, I kind of differ because there's already Supreme Court rulings that the police aren't there to protect anybody. They have their right. One of them, and people can look it up. It's the town of Castle Rock versus Gonzalez, a 205 Supreme Court decision. They're not there to protect anybody, even if you have a temporary restraining order, like what happened 3 weeks ago with that young lady horrifically killed. So now you start understanding why things like this happen, because they're not obligated to actually protect anybody.
Which is why education is so important, right? And that's why I think that, this partnership with Laredo College is such a great partnership, and they should continue that, and they should continue enhancing that, so that way, our community can be a little bit more educated and it's a win-win for both the college and for the police as well. They get a first class college to be able to teach them, and in turn, they get to train there as well. So I think that that would be a great partnership to continue having.
You know, talking about that, and I'm not bringing them down as in policemen or anything. They have a hard job, and this new police chief inherited a dilapidated department, not the headquarters, the department itself. And now he's trying to fix it, and you can tell by how he's talking that he's like grasping for help, and building a new headquarters isn't going to make you a better leader. You have to go out there and actually show yourself and lead everybody and say, you know what, let's put this down, let's start doing this now, and let's start moving forward. And I think he's doing a good job, but he himself knows that there's a lot of problems in that police department.
And I think we should give him the support that he needs in the education, right, of part. And he's a great guy. He's a true Laredoan,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
which
yeah.
is what I really like. And I think that if we were to continue to help him out by providing this proper education through Laredo College, that would be, a win for them. And you're right, we don't need a facility. I don't think that money well spent would be on a facility.
I'd rather spend that money and them getting more training,
I agree. I agree.
spend money for them to get better equipment. I'd rather spend that money and for them to become better individuals, maybe get psychological work done.
Mhm.
And if they see, because you see some horrific things in some of these accidents that are going to give you some kind of trauma, and it happens, and there's state law behind it, and I think we have to back that up, and I think that's what we need. Now, I'm going to stop there talking about the police of the safety, right? Now, let's go back to the health department, because the health department is something that we all need. But if I remember, that health department building was built on a landfill. So if they're going to build anything up, it's going to be very, very cost effective. I mean, it's going to strain us. Okay. So maybe they have to start looking elsewhere to move it. And the city has buildings already. I don't know why they haven't done that. I don't know. It's how can I put it? It's been mismanaged. You have people that have been involved in that department specifically for many years. In fact, one of them is now the mayor. How come these problems weren't brought up 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago? That we needed those. I have never heard of it. Understand what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden. So somebody also told me, which I need to get the number straight, that 75% of the health department's budget was federally funded. What happens if the federal government says no more, Laredo? What's going to happen to all the people that work there? Are we going to end up having to make another bond for that? You
So
know?
that goes back to our general fund, right? And we need to look at our general fund and say, hey, what's needed the most, right? And I think right now, for every dollar of the general fund, 65 cents goes to public safety. So does it need to be 65 cents, or could it be, 50 cents? Could we put some more money into public health and public health projects there? So I think that's some other things that we should look at as well down the line is looking at that. Because yeah, we want to be a healthy community, and we want to give the public health department everything that they need to be successful. But we want to do it smartly, right?
Right. And another thing that I see on this bond, and I'm glad that I'm talking to you, because you see that you're there and you're well versed, and is that, let's go back to the safety. How come we don't have more stations throughout? If we live in the north side, in the north, there's barely any police. You go to North Central Park, police aren't around. I mean, I went over there to one park that's near. If you go on International, going towards you pass the Amazonia subdivision and you're heading that way. There's a park on the right that has volleyball courts and basketball courts, whatever.
Mhm.
And then you're going towards Walmart, that area.
Yeah.
I went there 2 Fridays ago and walked the whole thing in there. I mean, it reeked like marijuana left and right, everywhere. Half those kids were already lit up. Where's the police presence? Where are we? Where are we going to? Where are we? If there's no police presence, then we can't help that. And I witnessed that. And it's not. And I hope Laredoans and those that work in the municipality and those that are in favor, this is not something against the police. This is not something against the firemen. This is not something against the health department or the city manager, city council whatsoever. Because they take it at heart. They think that a vote no or a vote against, or if you opinionate, that you're going against them. No, it's not. This is right now, Laredo is in a hardship status economically. A lot of people are feeling that. And guess what happens? Are we going to destroy those people? I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a tough job that they got, but if you look at the on the national level, right, and you look at the mess that we were in over these past 4 years, right, and new administration came in now, and they had to make some tough decisions on cutting a few things here and there, and it's not a popular thing, but somewhere you have to be able to the buck needs to stop, right? And there needs to be a reevaluation of things, and the world needs to operate a little bit more efficiently. Um, I think efficiency is really important. I'm a big believer in the lean model of efficiency, and the leaner the better. And the lean model in general is really how can we do more with less, but creating process engineering different things on how to what's the one best way to do different things. I think that's the important to do it everywhere.
Absolutely. No, you're correct. And I think that's where we're at right now. So hopefully they don't take it like we're against these individuals. Hopefully,
No, no, no. I think that we want to support them, and we want to give them all the feasibility studies that they need in order to truly identify exactly what we need out there in order to fully get the community behind whatever we need, whatever's identified. And then, someday we go and the community can slam dunk vote that and everybody be happy about it because we're enhancing our community.
absolutely. So right now, what would you say we need to work on?
I think public health is important, right? That's diabetes is killing us literally. And so that's something that we need to address right away. 33% of the city is uninsured. 33%. That puts us in the top 5 cities in the entire country. If we were to get people, if we were to get people, if that number goes from 33% to 20%, and if those extra 13%, we make sure they find a primary care home. And then when they find a primary care home, we make sure they go to their doctor's offices and checkups uh, regularly. Then a generation from now, we will have a lot healthier community because we built in the education throughout their lifetime on how to properly go to the doctor. But in order for them to go to the doctor, because we know the doctor's expensive, they need to have insurance. So they need to be educated on why insurance is important for them and then how to use it because we don't like to pay for things and then not use them. So if we're going to pay for insurance, we want to make sure that we're taking full advantage of the insurance that we pay for as well. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
Quality
And
of life also. We need to enhance we live in a city that's hot all the time. It's not easy to go outside and play in the playground. So how can we add things out there that are either indoors or that are shaded? Uh, or how can we stay open a little bit later? And maybe we keep the tennis courts open till 12 o'clock, right? Instead of 10 o'clock. I think that would be something you know, more people can get out there and play, and more people can get out there and move around, and that's healthier for the community. Um, Another thing that we need to look at is, just in general, we're the the number one port in the Western Hemisphere, but funding wise, federally, for infrastructure, we're not treated that way because, I've been to Washington a few times over the last year and a half here, and the what they look at in their when they're looking at funding is they're looking at our population. Well, that's not fair to look at a population. They need to look more at the amount of trucks and the amount of things that are going over our roads. So if we can get that taken care of, that's going to help out quality of life as well.
No, no, no. I'm with you. I'm with you. And not only that, that's you touch on the point there. And let's say these bonds pass. Okay, they're going to raise taxes. All those warehouses, they're 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, $10 million buildings. They're going to be taxed. Do you think they're going to stay here, or they're going to go to McAllen where they can get it a little bit cheaper, or go to San Antonio outside the free trade zone a little bit cheaper, or go to Eagle Pass a little bit cheaper?
I'll
Uh,
tell you what we need to work on that'll help out everything. The number one thing that I was dealing with last year, as a chairman for the chamber, was permitting. It takes about the average business, the studies has been done to open a business in Laredo takes about 8.5, 9 months, compared to the valley about 5 or 6 months. And when we're in business, we want efficiency, we want to be able to do things fast, and we want to start being able to have our business thrive earlier. So
you
that's what we need to fix.
touched a great point. Last 2 years, we're looking to expand the school. I wanted to buy another place to put a boxing ring in there and start teaching fighters in one, and have the other one more for youth and so on and so forth, and women, and more self. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking around, and I started finding out that just to get a temporary electrical permit from a building inspector to go out there is anywhere between 20 to 25 days. That's 3 weeks out. And then they'll go out there and maybe they put it, maybe they don't. And it's always the same thing. Building inspectors are very, very rude. I had an incident with one last year that, in fact, I complained to Mr. Neb and to Mr. Landin, and nothing's ever said. Nothing was ever done. And that same individual has caused havoc with many, many people. How do I know this? Because of the electrical contractors that were there, the plumbing contractors that were there, AC contractors, and you know what I'm saying? They all told me that's the person that's always causing trouble everywhere else. Why do we keep that? So our customer service is not that great. But as you touch point base, and that base point of starting a business here, it's worse. I did the study when that, and I came out, and within you, let's say you put in for temporary work electrical permit. Houston takes 72 hours to get somebody out. Houston. Here, 20 days.
That's insane.
You understand what I'm saying? And they might say, oh, no, we don't. What are you talking about? It's what it was. That's what it is. That's what people talk about. So just imagine let's say you're opening up your first business and you're out there with a great dream, and you have to start opening up the business. You go up to the real estate agent and find a place to rent. And it takes 25 days. That's a month. That was the free month that they gave you because you signed a 5-year lease. And then the second month comes in, you have to pay, and they're still messing around to see if for inspection for this, inspection for that, inspection for the other. Oh, maybe we didn't like it here. The contractor got into an argument with the building inspector. So now you're out 4 or 5 months, and you're still paying rent, but your business. Guess what's going to happen to that small business? It's going to cancel.
It's gonna be tough.
And nobody seems to tell them that we have to switch. We have to do something different. We
Let
have
me
to
give
get
you a
rid.
wild stat. Let me give you a wild stat here, or wild comment here, is that recently, I found out, through some of the developers, that one of the systems that the city's using for developing permits for developers is from the 1980s.
I believe you.
And the one thing that's holding them back from uh, updating is they said they don't have enough money to update that system. We asked how much it was, and they told me it was $1 million. That's it. So,
And we're spending how much?
and which brings me back to we need to look at our what we're spending money on and say, hey, can we plug the holes now? Then we kind of go out and see what we need later on. We need to plug those holes though.
I know you said it. You said it, and it's nuts the way everything is going. It's crazy. It's crazy.
We want to be competitive in economic development. We want to be competitive out there, but we need our city and permitting department to be on the same page, and they want them to be business friendly as well. We need a one-stop shop, and we need a faster way to be able to get permits done. We should be able to pride ourselves on being the fastest uh, community for getting permits out for new businesses, not the last one. So we really need to work on that. That's like a high priority item that we need to get done like now.
And right now, and that what you just said is the reason why many are against this, because the city needs to patch up those holes, get rid of the dead weight, those rotten apples that are in the different departments, get rid of them, do the cleaning up now. And I'm going across all the departments because we have the problem throughout that cultural of corruption, if you want to call it that, the cultural of I don't know what it'll be, but that has to be gone for us to prove. Because if we don't change, Laredo's in a spiraling. It's going to spiral downward, and it's right now we're spiraling downward. And a lot of things, people are afraid of the tariffs. People are afraid of that the Panama Canal issue, everything else. But people they're forgetting one thing. China and Mexico made a super railroad system that connected uh, the Pacific to the Gulf. And if they use that, they bypass the Panama Canal. Guess what's going to happen to all those trucks that are coming through here? They're going to go through there. It's going to be a lot easier. We're going to have railroads, sure. We'll have some, sure. But the bigger ports are going to be Brownsville, Corpus. That's why they're investing into that. And they're more small business friendly. They're more tax friendly to the citizens. We have to start learning from them. If somebody told me, what would you do if the city managers would be relieved of their duties? I would hire the city manager of McAllen and bring them in.
There's a lot of
Same.
opportunities out there for growth and especially Nueva Leon right now has so much momentum, and we're hoping that that momentum carries over here. But again, we need to be a little bit more efficient, and we need to build faster for our business community. But that takes covering those holes, covering those holes, and getting the permits done quicker.
Those holes have been there 20, 30, 35 years. They haven't changed.
They need to change now. They need to
They have.
change now, right? Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but they don't change. They don't want to change it. They keep them in. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happens in there, but we're in a bad situation, unfortunately. And somebody told me, well, why don't you move out? Actually, we're looking to see because we might, I'm not going to open up a restaurant here and I'm an executive chef. I won't because of everything that happens and the way it goes in there. It's going to be heart wrenching. Have you seen all the restaurants that open up and close? A lot. And the restaurant business is hard, but in other places you might do better. So that's what that's what I'm talking with my wife and so on and so forth. And we've been here for a very, very long time. And and unfortunately that's just the way it is. Listen, I want to thank you for enlightening me with everything that happened with the committee and how the committee was brought forth and how everything went. Those decisions were made. You were there. You experienced that. Anything else you'd like to tell the public that happened through there, or what you felt happened?
No, I think that the number one is that we when we look at these things at these bonds, we have to remember that we're touching everybody's lives, right? Everybody's affected by this. And so it's not that we don't want things, but we want to make sure that we're doing is we're being the best possible versions of ourselves for the public. That way they can get the best possible version of Laredo for them and for their dollar. So that's extremely important. And then the next thing I just want to say is I want to reiterate that we need to get this permitting system fixed in Laredo to speed business up. And if you want, we could do a whole episode on that later on. If you invite me back sometime, and we can bring some friends and we can talk about we can get into the specifics of that on that one in particular.
Absolutely, because that right there is a key point here. That right there, the building department, the planning and zoning department, those are key points that we need to fix. Those are departments that are doing us harm.
Yeah.
And people,
Well, I appreciate your time and you allowing me to come on your show, and you're doing great work in the community, and keep on keeping on, and martial arts and boxing and this is that's our sport, right? We want to congratulate Jenny on going to the Olympics, and congratulate the Velas for doing what they're doing out there, and but we need to highlight these programs more.
absolutely, and we need more of them. We need more to touch out, outreach the youth, but unfortunately, we have a city that kind of frowns against it. But yet it's a boxing city,
Wow.
and Savannah, the first Savannah school here. It's just still here, the first one in the nation, you know, and people just kind of just unfortunately, but we made a lot of champions, and through our school, we made a lot of policemen. We counted the other day, 31 law enforcement
Nice.
came through ours, and 26 firemen came through our school. So a lot of them tell you, hey, Profe, this is going on. I'm not against you. No, don't worry about it. It's not. We're not against you. We're not against you to our police, and we're not against you to our firemen, and to those city officials and so on and so forth. We're not. But I think the whole city right now has lost faith, and I think you all have to grasp that and bring that faith back. That's my opinion. That's what I'm looking at. Take it for what it's worth.
Well, I appreciate that, and we're as a private citizen, private entrepreneur, we're here to put pressure on the city to be able to get better, because all we want is to get better for all of us. So thanks again for your time today. I appreciate that.
And we'll be touching base, and we'll continue this forward. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what you mentioned, because that is a subject to talk
Yes,
about.
sir. Sounds good. You have a good one. Take care.
Also,
Bye bye.
and we leave you peace.
Bye bye.